Watch it. Watch it, cow. Hello, beautiful people.
We switched.
Yeah, I don't need no disturbances in force. Oh, okay. I'm on the mic now. Is it recording? Is it picking me up?
Now it is. We're recording.
Awesome. Hello, people.
Hi.
We're in a different setup today. I feel, this is weird. I feel like I'm talking directly to the camera now.
Isn't it weird?
But I need to talk to you.
Welcome back to the podcast, Mark.
Thanks, Josh. Your hair's looking good.
Thank you. You lost a lot of yours.
Well, that's what happens when I follow through with a bet that I lost, actually. If I say I'm going to shave my head, I shave my head.
I never said I was going to shave my head.
But now, who is fittest?
Who is fittest? Between who?
Between Marc and Josh.
I don't know, man. This is getting confusing.
So is this talking to the third person, the second person, or is this first person interaction? I don't know how that works. And are we breaking the fourth wall by talking to the camera?
I don't know how second person works because... So second person would be you from my point of view. Like I'm the first person, you're the second person, and third person would mean someone from the outside watching us both. That's like a third person.
What about when I'm referring to myself? Like if I say, oh, well, Marc did this because I'm Marc, but really you're Marc, so... Alright.
I think that's...
Let's just get into the stuff that people really care to hear about. Not this metaphysical, philosophical mumbo-jumbo. I don't know if Rob was telling me that I was set up correctly. Rob, does that mean that it's good to go? I can't tell what that means.
I can't even see the comments.
No, he private messaged me.
Oh.
So he doesn't want to call me an idiot in public is what's going on here, people. Alright, upcoming events.
Marc, start it up?
Yeah, what's going on? What's coming up?
Jerk Clinic happening.
Calm down. I have to yell. I'm right here. And I'm hard of hearing, and I still hear you.
Jerk Clinic on Saturday. Jerk Clinic on Saturday, the 24th. That is this upcoming Saturday. Depending on when you listen to this, it's this upcoming Saturday. If you listen to this after the 24th, you missed out, and we've been talking about it for weeks. So, Jerk Clinic coming up this Saturday. That is actually with Rob, and they don't say barbell in brands. I don't know what that means, Rob. That is with Coach Rob and Coach Gene. That is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is going to be a working clinic, just like our snatch and clean clinics went. And we've gotten amazing feedback back about both of those clinics. They were both hits.
Would you like to share some of the feedback?
Yes, I will share real quick though. We have 5 spots left for the Jerk Clinic, so if you're listening to this, normally this last week is when all the spots go like this, and then we open up more spots and they go like that. So I'm not snapping very well today, but oh, that was a good one. But so if you're interested in doing the Jerk Clinic, sign up this week because this is the last week to do it and before the spots go. So yes, we got a lot of feedback, some great feedback about both of those clinics. And we kind of just wanted to share some of the feedback about the clean clinic from somebody that took it. So we send out these post-clinic surveys / questionnaires, and just, we don't say, hey, you absolutely have to do this, but anybody that, it's just like a review for anything we do. Like if they want to send in a review, they do that. And so we have this feedback, and we'll just kind of go through the questions. As the first was, what did you enjoy most about the clean clinic? And this person said, I enjoyed the live video feedback Coach Gene used when providing cues. It really helped clarify exactly what was being seen versus how it felt as the lifter. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that seems to be the common thread, is the live feedback, and it's very personalized. It's not like general to kind of how we have to do it when we're in really the group setting. It's Marc, work on this, Josh, work on this, and this person said the biggest thing that they took away was the personal feedback from Coach Gene. So identified specific things for me to work on, and provided the tools and knowledge to help me progress. And then I know one of the questions is, would you recommend this? So clearly this person, what they said, would absolutely recommend this clinic to friends with beginner to intermediate level experience. And I think that's a good distinction that, we're not looking for somebody who's a couple of steps away from going to the Olympics. Coincidentally, we don't have anybody like that here, so this is perfect. So basically, anybody in here, I would classify as beginner to intermediate. So you would definitely benefit. So if you want to learn how to more efficiently and effectively get a barbell from the shoulder to overhead, come this Saturday from 11 to 1 and take in all the knowledge.
Yeah. Something that, and not to steal their thunder, but there's so many different skills and drills that they do at the clinic. Like this, I was asking Gene about it last night actually, and he said it's jerk drives and jerk dips and jerk balances and all these different drills that most people probably haven't heard of before that can help identify different faults or areas where you excel. And that's what's so cool about the clinics, that they've all done this and people all managed to find something that they can walk away with. So
cool.
Really good feedback to read and take a look at.
Then the following Saturday, Halloween workout, so come dressed up in your finest costume.
Yes.
And
that's at 9 a.m.
That's at 9 a.m. the 31st. Halloween workout. We've also got a candy drive going on, so if you want to bring in your candy, we're going to send it overseas.
Yeah, we're collecting that through November 5th.
Awesome.
So any candy you don't want to get into post 10/31, bring it to us.
Are we monitoring it to make sure that you're not eating it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually what I told the class yesterday. I said, this is a candy drive for Marcy.
They're not paying attention, so they didn't hear that part anyways.
I know, right?
Exactly.
And then, lastly, Friendsgiving.
Rob
taking
says
pictures.
taking pictures. All right, of Halloween.
Yeah.
Good.
It's been like 3 months since he's taken some pictures, so it's good.
Man.
Boom!
And then a couple weeks after that, Friendsgiving at my house from 2 to 5. You can please RSVP on the event page. And Mandy has reminded me, and that I'm finally remembering to mention this, if you would maybe drop a comment in there. For instance, you are coming with you and Emily, right?
Yeah.
So it would be Mark +1.
Right.
Now, what we don't want is to have Emily go in there and put Emily +1, because that's like a double dip. You don't double dip the chip.
No double dip the chip. Are you a double dipper?
Yes.
At parties?
Yeah. Why do you think my immune system is so good?
Oh.
I'm not afraid.
You survive it. If you double dip at parties, you can survive COVID.
Yes. I think that's science.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get cut off now, like
Yeah.
on the Facebook.
Yeah.
They're watching. Yes, I said the
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah, they're censoring.
That's how I refer to it still.
So don't over invite or don't over RSVP.
RSVP, yes. But please let us know, like, Tina +7, Pam +3, however many.
Okay.
But just don't have somebody else in your party also go in and count for you guys.
Cool.
Awesome.
Hopefully, I think last year Emily brought brownies on our behalf, so hopefully she can do that again.
I don't remember seeing those. Did she just bring them, not unwrap them, and then take them back home?
I think we left them in the car. We brought them. They were there.
It just didn't make it inside, and that's really the key.
Yeah.
Is making it inside the house.
Boom.
We were teasing Tabrez this morning, Justin and I, saying that we're gonna meet at our house, and then we're gonna basically just march over to the new Ronnie's and do Friendsgiving there.
Are they coming?
They did last year, so I would assume they are. Yeah, I'm gonna assume so. I'm gonna go ahead and RSVP for the new Ronnie family. Tabrez +3.
I'm going to RSVP for Friendsgiving at the new Ronnie's house. I'm going to say, okay, I'll be there at Tabrez from 2 to 5. 5 a.m., right? All right.
Just knock.
Is it a soft 5 p.m. at your house? Or is it a hard, hey, 5 p.m., we're done?
Get out of here. Yeah, that'll be Mandy. She's gonna air horn right to your face. Get out.
What games are on that day? For our football listeners, our football watchers.
That's a great question, Mark. I don't know, but maybe we'll get you some answers.
All right, you ramble on a little. I'm going to Google search college football.
The only games that count are the SEC, so maybe look up SEC football schedule on November 14th. And if you're a fan of any other conference, well, you're just not a fan of real football. So there's that.
All right, SEC announces new 2020 football schedule. Let's see.
I should know off the top of my head. Justin Scott's probably going to kick me in the head for not knowing.
There's so many.
There's so many good ones. But who's playing in like the noon slot and the 3:30 slot?
And then it's just showing this table, so it doesn't have.
No, thanks for that. Yeah, well, I don't know, just.
It's not showing the time. Let's see.
All right. Stand by. Technical difficulties of Mark.
Alabama at LSU, Arkansas at Florida, Auburn.
Oh.
Who's going to win that game?
Florida. Come on.
Auburn at Mississippi State, Georgia at Missouri, Vanderbilt at Kentucky, South Carolina at Ole Miss, and Texas A&M at Tennessee.
We should get like a little pool going, like a little pick'em pool of who's going to win what games. That'd be fun.
That'd be really cool.
Do you know how many people line up on offense and defense in football?
No. Is it? I don't know. I think so.
How many do you think it is?
I have 2 guesses. I don't know.
How many?
I don't want to say because I don't want to be wrong. Is it 10?
No.
Is it 14?
No.
Is it more?
11.
That was close.
Yeah.
That was close. 14 was the first one. I knew it was a lot.
All right. How about on a baseball field? Do you know how many people are in the field?
Yeah, 9.
Very good. How many are on an active roster on a big league team?
I don't know. A lot more than 9.
25. Majority are pitchers.
How many? Really? Majority?
Yeah, majority.
How
are
many
pitchers.
play throughout the course of the game? Like how many? How many of those 25 will see?
Actually, if you're a small market team like the Rays that really rely on their bullpen, probably 15 to 18. I would guess somewhere around there because I know they bring in a ton of extra pitchers, pinch hitters, pinch runners, so that really bumps it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Rays, World Series tonight.
Game 1
Yeah.
against the Dodgers.
How's that gonna go?
I don't know. The Rays are a really good ball club. It really depends upon. I was reading about them. I hadn't watched a ton of baseball this year, but I do know enough to know that a lot of their run generation comes from just home runs, and the ballpark they're playing in is not too favorable for the long ball, so they could be in trouble there. So if they can, what's called in baseball, manufacture some runs, play some small ball, bunting, stealing, things like that, I think they got a good chance. But again, I haven't watched enough to really know to give a solid opinion.
They almost blew it. The
They
Rays.
did. They
Yeah.
were trying hard. They probably aged me about 10 years. Yeah. Sweet. What's next?
I was just gonna say the only time that I see here on NCAA.com is Alabama at LSU is at 6 p.m. on CBS.
You gotta be gone. Sorry, you can watch that at your own house, not at the Martins. Go to the New Ronnies. I heard they're screening it. One day he'll jump into this thread, maybe, but probably not today.
I was just gonna say what makes it so funny is he doesn't listen to the podcast, so he's not gonna know when people.
So
say
all the
this.
all the other people are laughing, that we got this great inside joke, and he's not a part of it.
I'm gonna make it a chapter marker, like Friendsgiving at the New Ronnie's house at 6 p.m. Go to
That would be awesome. Don't be late. Kickoff is at 6.
Okay, so if you want to mention anything else before getting into listener questions, go ahead. Anything that's on your mind, anything pressing?
No. I'm ready to answer some questions today, though.
Let's get into it. Listener question, we have 4 today. 4. So this podcast is going to be about 6 hours long.
Yes.
We have listener question A, or number 1. What makes a workout, Josh, what makes a workout a good workout? A quote, good workout.
So I have to tell you, to admit something. This is actually a question for me.
From you.
From me, to you. It's like when I buy myself at Christmas time, I always buy myself something and wrap it up.
Yeah.
And then don't put a label on it. And it's the running joke every year. Oh, whose gift is this? And magically, it's always something for me, so it's become a great running joke. Anyways, so the reason I asked this is because I've really started to pay attention to this a lot more recently. When, we get done and we're kind of hanging out, chit-chatting, safe, socially distanced, of course, after class, and we're talking about, the workout. Everybody, for the most part, always says, man, that was such a good workout, and this is thinking back through tens of thousands of iterations of workouts that we've done at CFG over the years. Like, we've definitely said, man, that workout was miserable, but really what we're saying is like, that was a good workout.
Mm-hmm.
So it got me thinking, and I have my answer, but I'm curious, when you get done, like yesterday's workout, you worked out with us at the 9 a.m., what is it that makes a workout a good workout for you? That might be different for everybody, and I have my biased answer. But.
Yeah. For me, I think I've said this before, and I know Josh, you and I have talked about this so much over the last, we'll say, like 2 or 3 years, but I love working out with the class. So for me, a good workout is one where, like, I have a couple answers, but primarily it's, okay, if I can get in with a class and, like, enjoy working out and, you know, banter and heckling and doing that with other people, that's a lot of fun for me.
So there's a big social component for you.
Yeah. But that's not to say that the workouts, because I work out with the class maybe 2 out of my 5 workouts a week.
Correct.
And so that's not to say the other 60% of my workouts are bad workouts, because they're still really good. I would just say that, like, you and I, we talk about perfect day a lot, but I guess my perfect workout is going to be, like, my perfect circumstance for a workout is going to be probably a Saturday class that I'm taking with, like, 12 of us in the class, if not more. And there's a component, and I think a lot of people that don't like this are going to scoff or, like, question me, but, like, there's a component about, like, having so many people in the class to where, like, equipment requirements becomes
like a challenge. Yeah.
That is so fun for me. Like, it's just like, wow, it's so cool that we have this many people in here. That's something we have to worry about. And, you know, just the camaraderie, the like I said, the banter, the heckling, the trash talking, friendly, of course, back and forth. That's a huge part of it for me. That's probably my perfect day. Part of my perfect day is doing a workout like that. But a good workout for me is one that I just feel like I got better. I was better afterwards than when I walked into the gym. So, and here's a hint to people when, you know, you were saying people are always like, oh, you know, that was a good workout. This was a good workout. That was a good workout. I always say a snarky comment back to them is, you know, here's a tip. They're all good workouts. Like, they're all
right.
Like, they're all
right.
Like, every day you come in here, especially if you're taking the group fitness class, you're probably going to be left with your heart rate at 160 to 180 at the end of it, and sweating a ton and laying on your back. Like, so they're all good workouts. I know I kind of rambled on there, but
no, that gives me some good thought processes in my own head of how I want to kind of frame my answer. But for me, a good workout to me is one that slightly challenges me. And what I mean by that is not that I want like an easy workout that I can just kind of breeze through, but I want something that is just a little bit in front of my current capabilities, so that I know that I'm pushing myself just a little bit, just enough, because I know that, like, over time I can continue to adapt at that. And the example that I love to give to people is, you know, the deadlift. So when you're brand new, you can, you know, double the deadlift that you do on day 1 in day 10, and you can probably double it again on day 20. But when you get to having a training age of 6 months, 12 months, 6 years, 12 years, things don't happen like that. And so early on, it's very tempting to just keep piling, you know, another 10 on each side or 45 pounds on each side, instead of saying, okay, well, yesterday or 2 weeks ago I could deadlift 400. Let me see if I can deadlift 401 today.
Right.
Because it's a lot more realistic and sustainable to have these small little increases in your progress over time, instead of always just trying to shoot for the stars. So to me, a good workout is one that just challenges my current capabilities on whatever they are on that particular day. So today's workout is a really good, for instance, for me, is I could do double unders, but I embarrassingly had a minor ankle sprain playing in the front yard with my children last week. And so while I can do double unders, today the best decision for me was to do single unders. So I could still get a little bit of that repetition of the movement, but it's not quite at the skill level. So challenge my current capabilities today is one. Number two, I'm always interested in learning something, whether it is something within the movement, something about workout structure, something about myself. So I always look for learning opportunities within the session that I'm there. And then number three, and this is probably most important to me, is I want to have a lot of opportunities to smile when I'm working out. So how can I make sure that I maximize that opportunity? Well, I show up and I work out with a class. Now, there is a big realization that there are a big percentage of the population that don't want to work out in the group environment because they're nervous, they're intimidated, they're not ready, they don't feel confident, and that's all well and good. And we all experienced this to a certain degree during COVID, to where we weren't working out necessarily with the group, but I still found a lot of joy and still opportunities for challenge, opportunities for learning whenever I was working out at my house. So for me, when I get done and I say, man, that was a good workout, I felt like I was moderately challenged. I felt like I learned something about myself, and then I felt like it was enjoyable. So put a smile on my face.
Nice.
So I am curious, even though I did kind of selfishly ask this question for us to answer, I am curious when other people say, man, I'm just looking for a good workout, or, oh, that was a really good workout. What does that mean? And obviously, we've had time to kind of sit and talk about it for 7, 8, 9 minutes, so we've really sat with that question. And that's what I would challenge people to do, is ask yourself that question, and sit with it for a little bit and think about it, and it'll help you be more intentional when you come in to the gym to work out. I want to get a good workout. These are the things I look for. How can I do that?
Yeah, and just to present this to you guys, if this is something you'd be willing to do, is if you've made it 23 minutes into the show so far and you heard the part about, hey, think about what a good workout is for you, and think about it, send it to us. Send it to us in, I know a lot of you guys text me daily, so shoot me a text with your answer. Shoot me an email, shoot us something with what your good workout is, or tell us in person. And if you want it shared on the show, if it's different from anything we mentioned, now if it's the same as what we mentioned, we'll probably say, okay, that's awesome, I'm glad, thanks for listening and taking the time to do it. But if it's anything different, we'd love to talk about it some more and just expand a little bit more on maybe what your good workout is, and that's something else we can dive into. So feel free to shoot us what your good workout is, because I'll get texts or comments every day, like we said, that, yeah, that's such a good workout, that's such a good workout. Well, what made it so good for you? And maybe that's my role as a coach, is to ask that, what made it so good, instead of just saying, well, they're all good. Dummy. Come on.
That's right, they're all amazing. So I'm going to go a little bit out of order, because I do want to get to specifically one that was asked directly to us. So why is it important to your general health and fitness to continue coming in to work out when you're injured? Why isn't it better to just stop pursuing fitness if you have to scale very often and do something different until you recover from X injury? So I know that this is something that we've talked about a lot. I've written blogs about it. I think we even touched on this in a different context last time. But this one is from the other lens. If you are injured, why is it important to continue coming in to work out? You want to add your thoughts first, Mark?
Yeah, I just have a little bit to say, because I know that you have some notes here and you have a lot more to say than I probably do. But for me, speaking from the point of view of somebody with, I got 4 different things going on with myself right now, my left shin, my right Achilles, both sides of my lower back. I'm still coming in, I'm working out every single day. Well, like I said, about 5 days a week, 5 or 6 days a week. And for me, it's largely mental. So if fitness, we've talked about in the past the benefits mentally that exercise and pursuing fitness has on the human brain. So being able to keep up with that, and for me, that's largely important. Is just like
It's just a part of your lifestyle.
it's just a part of my lifestyle. It's something that I do. It's really a part of me. It's something that I do. I'll get the word right this time. I'm very intrinsically motivated.
Oh, yes.
It's something that I do because I like doing it. Which, side note, I was talking to Coach Stephanie about this yesterday. That is peak motivation. That's like what everybody, as coaches, we strive for everybody to do, is have that intrinsic motivation.
Yes.
They do it because they like doing it. And that's how I am with exercise. So I do it because I like doing it, even though I'm injured. And I know there's ways to come in here and still get a good workout. Like, get my good workout.
Yeah. It's almost like you're doing it because you can.
Yeah.
Like, because you're capable of doing it.
Right.
Like, if you lose a leg or an arm, are you still capable of exercising?
Yes.
Yes. So, and I know that that's such an extreme example, and I would never presume to use something like that to like shame somebody, you know, but we've all seen and heard and read stories about people that, you know, lost a limb or had a catastrophic accident, and they continue to, you know, pursue some sort of physical activity. And it's simply because they are still capable of doing so. So I guess for me, there does seem to be a very deep-rooted psychological component that we see that I've noticed. I don't know if you have, but especially when it comes to the group environment. And I'm going to kind of dovetail this into a similar example. But what we've noticed over the years is that the adherence, aka you showing up consistently, from the group perspective drops off versus a personal training session doesn't. Like, ever. They just continue to show up. And then there's a whole like rabbit hole that we could go down with that. But I do find that interesting, and I think the surface level thing that I wanted to talk about with regards to that, and this wasn't even in my notes, I just kind of had this thought as you were talking, is I think psychologically it is a challenge when you're used to, like you said, working out, and you get these good social benefits from being around your friends and laughing, and you know, you're doing similar things, but like we've talked about in the past, you're not all doing the same workout, but it seems similar at surface level. And so then, like, let's say that, you know, you tweak your knee or your hip or your ankle or your shoulder or your elbow, your wrist, whatever, your back, all of a sudden it can seem like you're getting put on the back burner. Go over here and do this exercise that looks completely different. And psychologically, that can really do a number on you. So I think that what I would tell to those people is you just have to get over that part. Like, you're still capable of doing physical activity. And so you should, because you know that it is part of a healthy lifestyle that you have said you want to have. So that doesn't just stop because you stubbed your toe, right? Or, you know, because you tripped on a shoelace, or like anything just seemingly little. So why would it be so when we're talking in regards to this question? Now, there is a big caveat, and I want to make sure that I bring this up. There's a difference between like an acute or a chronic injury, right? Acute means sudden. So you blow your back out, you break a limb, you have a major like catastrophic injury. You shave your shin on a box jump. Like, that is grounds for like stopping, you know, getting treatment immediately. And then a chronic injury is one that just seems to always be there bugging you to the back of your mind. Oh, that back pain, I just always have it. Oh, that knee pain, I always have it. Well, that's chronic, right? And so there is that difference. So what we're saying is, like, I think in both cases, you should probably see a medical professional, but most definitely when it is of the acute variety. Like, that is much more important in the immediacy of the moment, right?
Right.
So then you also have to understand, and this is mostly aimed at people that are new to having a lifestyle that encompasses physical movement, is there is a difference between pain, discomfort, and injury. Right? Discomfort is what you get when you, like today we did a bunch of lunges, and your legs are going to be pretty brutally sore, for the next maybe 24, 48, 72 hours. If you're going to be sore, that's discomfort. Pain is your body's like check engine light coming on, and probably preventing you from having full range of motion that you might normally have, but it sends a signal that says to your body like, oh, this hurts and it's not good. Now, I know that sounds very similar to discomfort, and so this is where a bit of awareness into your own body comes into play. And this is why it's so important for me to learn more in my good workout, like we talked about myself, because it does help me to distinguish, even with more nuance and detail, the difference between pain and discomfort, right? And then you can get into like mechanical pain, metabolic pain, i.e. you're doing frame, your lungs are on fire, your legs are on fire, or something like that. So there is that difference there. And then injury, where, so we've got pain, discomfort, injury. Injury is, okay, I am prevented from doing something using this particular insert joint, muscle movement, something like that. So you do need to understand the difference. So, having said all that, why is it important? So there is this really cool phenomenon, and people, I would encourage you to kind of maybe dive down the rabbit hole just a tad. And Mark, maybe in the show notes you can share a blog post that I wrote, I don't know, last year or the year before, about why you must continue to train when you're injured. But there's this really cool phenomenon known as cross-education of the body. So it goes something like this. Like, let's say that you bang up your left shoulder. And so while your left shoulder is kind of going through the healing process, you would come in and you would still do work with your right shoulder. And let's just say that your left side is totally immobilized, so you can't even use it at all. But we can still have you press vertically or horizontally with that right side. So what actually happens is neurologically, your left shoulder is getting the benefits somewhat. It's getting the benefits of what you were doing on the opposite side. And so if you do nothing, you get no benefit whatsoever. If you do something, you get that cross-education benefit.
If you've ever been in class with most likely some sort of like upper body injury, and we've done some pressing, we've said, okay, like you're still gonna press overhead, but of course, like say we're doing strict press with a barbell, and you have a wrist injury. I'm gonna have you strict press with a dumbbell on one side, and you're gonna say, well, Mark, I'm gonna be unbalanced, but that cross education, we're gonna put it into play and say, okay, well, if your right wrist is injured, you're gonna press with your left arm, and you're gonna squeeze a fist as tight as you possibly can, because that cross education, you're gonna see benefits in your right arm. Now, are they gonna be as great as the ones in your left? Right? But they're gonna be benefits. Right. And like you said, something is better than nothing. Do you remember what the law is called?
So the phenomenon is just known as cross-education.
Oh, I thought there was a law.
Yeah. It might be, but that's just what I write to it as.
Do you remember what the blog was called that you mentioned?
Yeah, it's called Injured, ? This is why you must continue to train.
Oh.
I actually wrote it almost 2 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Found it, so now I can throw it in the show notes.
Show notes.
I'll actually link it in the live feed as well.
Oh, good.
Look at that.
Right.
Very cool. So pain is very interesting because, as most people know, we have exos here, physical therapists, and so something that I've heard Jim Godin say before is when people are returning to exercise, and so maybe they've been doing physical therapy for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, I think a lot of people get very timid and very scared when they're returning to doing something, say deadlifting after a back injury, and they feel any sort of pain. And I've actually heard Jim, who's the head PT, say, well, pain is normal, right? You're returning to something after being injured in a specific spot. It's like and I'm probably taking this way out of context, and he can correct me when he hears this, but he'll say something like, well, we don't want zero pain, right? When I wasn't looking for zero, well, of course we want zero pain, but I wasn't looking for zero pain. Like, we want somewhere around a 3. Like 3 out of 10, 10 being take me to the hospital right now, 0 of course being I don't feel anything. Like, we want to hang out around a 3 because that's something we can work with. That way we can still continue to do what we like, continue with the correctives that you've been practicing, so any sort of soft tissue work, mobility work, or stability work, and still, like I said, continue to do what you like to do. So pain is very interesting because a lot of people, and I think we've discussed this before, is that a lot of people view pain as really, really bad.
Correct.
And you gotta flip the script because pain is just our body's response.
Stress in the body, right?
Yeah.
And then you adapt.
It's just our body fixing something that's already wrong. So the pain isn't the bad part. The pain is what's fixing the bad stuff. And it's really easy to forget that, of course, because it's pain. So it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a very blurred, understandably so, blurred line between pain and discomfort. Because even hearing you talk about that, to me, that sounds more like discomfort versus when I sprained my ankle, it was painful, right? Versus, if I haven't warmed up and I'm going for a long run, which would probably never happen, me going for a long run. But if I start running, and my Achilles are super tight, and I have to stop and go through my full warm up or something. Okay, that sounds painful to me. So I do think that it is a blurred line, but through all this, one of the things that I wanted to kind of put an exclamation point on towards the end is the best thing for you to do, and it's going to sound like we're beating a dead horse again, but is talk to your coach. If you've had a traumatic accident, if you've had a surgery, if you're returning from an illness or a sickness, if you rolled your ankle playing wiffle ball in the front yard with your kids, those are all things that we're talking about within this one question, and I know it's framed around this idea of injury, but that's not necessarily the case all the time. It just means that you need to talk to your coach so that they can write the prescription or individualize the training of the day for you, which is what it should be every single day, which is, not to go down this rabbit hole again, which is why if you do what your coach says, you're doing the RX workout.
Bam.
Done.
Today was another funny day, and this is just a side note. I looked around at the class, and I was like, I think only one person is writing, or is doing the 6 people in the class, but I was like, I think only one person is doing the written, quote, RX workout. That's on the board. It was Tabrez. He was doing, the double unders, the lunges, and the push-ups for 12 minutes. And everybody else was doing a variation of something different. So I know we talk about this so much, but it was just cool to take that mental inventory and just say, all 6 of you guys were breathing hard or taking a walk or laying on your back after the workout, but only one person was doing what was originally written. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Because everybody was either returning to activity or dealing with something, most likely dealing with something physical, and so, yeah. That was listener question number 2. Thank you to Coach Stephanie. She actually asked us
Relaying that,
question.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll ask this next one because I do want to provide some context here. So this is one that I received that says, hey, has anyone had success very specifically and strategically trying to increase heart rate variability? Like adding something into the diet or your training. This person is also saying their sleep is on point and their training and strain aren't too high. So a little bit of context with this. HRV stands for heart rate variability. It is a measure of time between heartbeats. And as the understanding goes, the greater that time is, and I believe it is in milliseconds, the better off you are. So having your heart rate variability score increase over the course of a long time would be a potentially good thing. So what this person is asking is, hey, how can I specifically and strategically increase heart rate variability? And so the thing that I think about this is, okay, this is really a correlate health marker. So this could be number of steps taken, sleep apps. These all measure things that correlate to increases in health. So the way that I think about this question is, how useful is something like this? How would you use it? All right? So heart rate variability, like I said, measures the time between one heartbeat to the next. A couple of things to keep in mind. It's highly individualistic. So I don't think that he'll mind me using him as an example, but Jose is a great example. So HRV is one of the metrics that show up in the Whoop that a bunch of us in our little Whoop group, I just like to say that, by the way. Whoop group. HRV is something that shows as a metric that is measured by the Whoop. And I remember when I first started using it, I would talk to Jose about his HRV, and it was like double mine. And usually what normal metrics would tell you over time, that as people age, their biomarkers of health sometimes come down. Meaning that as you age, your health doesn't necessarily get better over time. But through this metric, we were seeing an HRV that was double, what mine presumably was. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of factors that can affect your HRV. So it takes into account, basically it's measuring what is happening with your central nervous system, parasympathetic versus sympathetic state. And I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole and talk about that. But that's basically what it's looking at. Another way of putting it is, how stressed out are you? So we know, using the SEM model, that stress comes from a variety of different places in your life. It can come from your sleep, both quality and quantity. It can come from your eating, both quality and quantity. Your movement, same thing. How well and how often are you moving? And then your actual stress management. Remember, we're not looking to eliminate stress, but rather manage it more effectively. So how useful is this? How do I improve it? Do I look for this to be something that goes up over time? Maybe. The question that I would ask back is, why? Why do you want to see that metric get better? And the answer usually that is provided back to me is, well, because that tells me that I'm getting healthier. Okay, well, what are the things that you would have to do to get that metric up? Well, I would have to work on sleep, eat, move, manage. Okay? So if you're not somebody that cares too much about data, or that maybe is just using it more as a vanity metric, how about you just put that aside and work on those 4 areas of your life? Because, and one of the arguments that I make about this is that you could probably hack getting your HRV score up really high in, let's just say 6 weeks as an arbitrary number. There are probably some hacks that you can do. But are you going to stick with it long term? Because that's really what matters. It's not the 6 weeks, it's 6 years and then 60 years. What is the process that you're going to have to undertake to continue that trend long term? Because really that's what matters more than anything. If you're concerned about HRV, that's telling me that at a deeper level, you do care about your long-term health and wellness. So let's just worry about doing the daily things. And then, if that improves, great. If it doesn't improve, it's telling me you're not doing good on one of those 4 things. So what is it?
Right. So it should just be used as guidance instead of an end-all be-all. So you can use your heart rate variability number maybe as guidance, or your recovery number, or your sleep performance, whatever metric that you're letting guide your life, you can kind of just use it as guidance as to how well you're doing the other things.
Yeah, and the quote that I put in here is, you need to keep the goal the goal. So if it's HRV increase, okay, let's put a time frame on it so you keep the goal, but the details are really found in your daily process. So the differentiator between you being successful in your goal or not is what are you doing for a daily practice. And since we're specifically talking about HRV, some things that you can do, guess what, is go to sleep at the same time, rise at the same time, not just 3 days a week, but 7 days a week. Now, if you're looking at like, how do I really maximize it, it's okay. Well, your room temperature should be under 68 degrees Fahrenheit. You want no light whatsoever inside of your bedroom. You want to go to sleep and rise at the same time every day without an alarm clock. And oh, by the way, also with circadian rhythm, with sun and moon to maximize circadian rhythm. Like, that would be a 10 out of 10 on sleep. How many people are actually doing that? None. But how many people can realistically do that? And so sometimes you get caught up in like, okay, well, what's the 10 out of 10? Okay, well, maybe it's helpful to know that. But the most helpful thing is, where are you now? And how can we nudge you just a little bit further? So maybe your room temperature is 76 right now. Can you commit to 74 for a month? Can you put blackout curtains in your room?
Right.
Can you get up at the same time even on the weekends? That's probably the toughest of those.
Right.
It's like, no, that's when I should sleep in. Your body's actually going to benefit from greater rhythm long term, which is what matters, by doing that.
Do you get up at the same time every weekend?
Yes.
Do you go to bed later?
No.
So over the weekend, you're pretty much the same?
So honestly, of all four of the lifestyle factors, sleep, eat, move, manage, the one that I have, you can talk to Mandy, my mom, dad, anybody that spends a good amount of time with me, like, I don't mess around with sleep. That's the one critical, for me, the critical differentiator that I've always known it, felt it intuitively that it matters. And so I prioritize it.
Right.
Now, I'm also empathetic to the fact that, shift workers, people that have to be up and coach at 5:30, right? Do you want to get up at 4:30 even on the weekends? No. So, were there periods in my life where that wasn't the case? Absolutely. And it was when I used to coach every single class all day, every day for years.
Yeah.
So
and even then your schedule was the same.
Yeah. So exactly.
For 5 days a week.
Yeah. So there is a realization. So that's why I tell people it's you have to kind of pick and choose. You'll learn one day when you have your kids, but your parents have probably told you this before too. Is like you have to pick and choose your battles. So it's you, and I think I wrote a blog about this recently too. It's useless to tell somebody, I've heard, various fitness professionals or healthcare professionals tell people, well, you just need to sleep more. You're getting 4 hours. You really need to be getting 6 to 8. That's terrible advice. It just is, because to take somebody from that to more sleep, what you're telling them is, okay, you've really got to cut out some other things. And I think that that's such a short-sighted view of how to help somebody create long-term sustainable habits.
Well, it's easy to do that. It's really easy to just tell somebody that's struggling, you need to sleep, 2 to 4 more hours every night. Okay, next patient, please. Send them out, send them back in. It's a lot harder to develop a relationship and say, Josh, why are you only sleeping 4 hours? What are you doing? What time are you going to bed? Well, why are you going to bed at 12? Why are you getting up at 4? Do you have to do that for it's hard to ask those questions. And in today's healthcare system, it's not possible. When the model is see as many patients as you can, it's not possible.
Yeah.
I pulled up the Whoop app just because I know we were talking about this beforehand, and I mentioned the age thing about how being younger, I think traditionally my heart rate variability might be lower, and then so you were like, well, I don't really think that has much to do with it, because I think it can be improved. So for example, today I am 78% recovered. Now, and these metrics don't mean too much. Again, they're just guidance. 78% recovered with a heart rate variability of 154, which is really high compared to what you might hear, because what I'm about to say is pretty shocking. We have Marlene, who is older than me. I'm not sure how much older than me she is. I would say at least 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
She's 97% recovered, so she is 19% more recovered than I am, with a heart rate variability of 24. So I have a heart rate variability that is almost 7 times as much, but she's more recovered, technically more ready to handle
More strain. Right.
For her. Like you said at the very beginning, this is highly individualistic. So I think people really easily get caught. Oh, Jose got 100% on his sleep score, by the way. That's pretty good.
No, Jose, that's rare for him.
Yeah, that is. You got 96. That's pretty good. You're in second place with 96.
That's low for me. Normally, I always have 100%.
I'm in last place with a 63%.
That's all right, Mark. You can't win at everything.
That's all right. It's highly individualistic, and people really get caught up with the amount of calories they've burned, with their strain when it comes to the whoop. Like, wait, why was my strain 9.5 but Josh's was 9.6 in that workout? Did he really work that much harder than me?
Yes.
Did Josh burn 10 more calories than me? Did he really work that much harder? And I want to get this straight, and this is a weird seat because you don't know where to turn. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, even here, am I looking here? Am I looking at you? I feel like we're having a conversation, so.
So I'll say this to you, but I know you don't need to hear this, so I'm also going to say it to these guys, is your watch, your Fitbit, your Garmin, your Whoop, your Apple Watch does not know how many calories you burned.
Say it loud for the people in the back. My goodness.
I'm sorry to tell you, but when you tell me, man, this workout was so good, I burned 600 calories, I'm going to say, that's awesome. No, you didn't. You have no idea how many calories you burned. But again, like we were saying earlier, that could definitely be used for guidance, I would say, on how hard you worked, or the amount of stress or strain you were under, or your intensity for the day. So I know that if I come in and I work out and I burn 100 calories in my workout according to my Whoop, I probably didn't work as hard as the day that I burned 600 calories. But on the flip side, I don't need my Whoop to tell me that. Like, because I know that those 2 calorie burns are gonna feel totally different. And I don't need it to tell me that. I'm more interested in the heart rate variability stuff, because it's a metric we don't really look at. The recovery, the sleep, the behavior change that we've talked about on past episodes. I don't care about the calories because I know that the watch has no idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and what it boils down to is there's a difference between precision and accuracy, and so what those watches are measuring is they're not actually telling you what calories they're burning, but what you can use them for is just long-term trends for yourself. So like you said, if day 1 you come in, you burned X, day 3 you come in, you burn Y, and day I forgot where I was at with my lettering, Z you come in and you burn whatever, or day 3 you come in, you burn Z calories. Like, you can figure out over time, am I becoming more efficient? So if you do the same workout Monday of week 1 and then Monday of week 7, and same amount of work and everything, same time domain, all that stuff, but the calorie count was lower the second time around, what that can effectively tell you is you got more efficient with your movement. So you used less energy to do the same amount of work. That's actually a good thing, right? You're adapting to it.
Means you're fitter.
Exactly. So I think it is important. So it's funny. It's a term that I think about in scientific studies all the time is efficacy. Is the thing doing what it is supposed to do? No. But is it doing the same thing that it's doing, repeatable over and over and over? Yes. And so if you go into it with that knowledge, you can be much more effective in how you use the data over the long term. That's kind of the pros and cons of kind of the tech world that we live in. It's great, we've got all this information at our fingertips, but we pretty much know everything that we need to know with regards to these types of things, right? I've got X goal, what should I do? Sleep, eat, move, manage. Let's see where you're at and let's craft a plan for you. Okay, I've got a different goal. Sleep, eat, move, manage. Let's see where you're at. And so it really does boil down to the behaviors done over and over such that they become habits and it becomes your lifestyle based upon what the goal is that you have with a time frame attached.
Again, very individualistic.
Correct.
Nobody's on the same path.
Right. Okay, so this last one, this was actually something that we either briefly touched on last time or the podcast before that, is what I refer to as like the beacons of health. So in our world, usually the beacons of health that people look up to are athletes. Whether they are in the CrossFit functional fitness space, if they're in the more traditional sport realm, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that is where people look to when they think about ultimate representatives of health and fitness, right? So who are they today? Well, they're the athletes. The question that I would propose is, who should they be? Should they be athletes? Do you think that athletes are the beacons of health?
For some, I think it depends again on your goals. It depends on who you are and what you want to accomplish. But you said beacons of health. So
yes, I was just about to make that distinction because there is a difference.
Yes.
So correct, it is very individualistic. But let's think back to, we've said it time and time again, 99.99999% of people have goals that we would classify in the bucket of health.
Right. So maybe this is a corny answer, but maybe the beacons of health are the people, we'll just say, in the fight right now, currently doing it and working towards reaching their goals. Fellow members, fellow athletes in your class, and I say athletes as in, group members, people taking the class. Maybe, Josh, your beacons of health is that elderly couple that were drinking the Busch Light by the waterfall. Like maybe they're the beacon of health for you because you said, okay, that's what I'm striving, that's what I'm working towards. Like I want to be able to do that when I'm that age. Is there an avatar or an archetype of person or one specific person that should lead the charge and be that beacon of health? I don't know. I don't know if I have that answer. You might have a better one, but I think everybody's going to have a different, I guess you could say, idol. But I feel like I'm making this more individualistic than it needs to be.
No, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you're on the right track. What I would say is definitively, it absolutely should not ever be athletes. The athletes that we know and see that are infinitely available at your fingertips that you could see on a Saturday or a Sunday, or that are basically getting paid to pursue the ultimate potential of their physical being. And there's a whole lot of physiological reasons, but what I would say is we do have to make that distinction that when you actually look at the classic biomarkers of what we would look at to say this person is healthy, this person is not, you have to look past the six-pack abs, right? And because that's what so many people, that's what the market is telling you is quote-unquote healthy, right? And it's because we, the market, continue to click on these things, and so it's like self-perpetuating. But anyways, without getting too far down that rabbit hole, when you actually look at the markers of that, the let's just like think about blood markers. Blood markers of the high-level athletes are very close to those that you would classify as clinically sick. Like they sit right next to one another.
Wow.
So you have to think about that. And then let's just say that, like I don't really buy that. Okay, cool. Do you know when the career is over for the average professional athlete? Like the average NFL career is like less than 3 years. Baseball, maybe 5 years.
And that's the average. So there are people that are playing for less than 3 years, less
Far
than 5
less.
years.
Yeah.
And
you have to remember that average is really being drawn up by the few like Tom Brady who have played for 20 plus years.
Right.
Right? And then, so let's just say, yeah, but they were the pinnacle, whatever. Okay, but again, let's separate athletic performance from health. Think about what happens to them for the next 40 to 50 years. What are the issues that we see with these people? They are chronically in pain. They, have multiple surgeries. This sounds terrible to say, but they die earlier on average. They deal with head trauma and concussion, CTE. Yep, that's a tremendously huge issue. Mental health degrades, and this isn't even taken into account the psychological punishment that they take after they've had an identity for 30-ish years wrapped in this physical expression, that now they are not that person. That's not a beacon of health, man. At all.
So you read a lot, and this is just me asking because I want to go down this rabbit hole a little. Have you read anything or watched anything or heard anything, documentary, whatever, 30 for 30, about that psychological effect? So like being in the limelight for so long and then basically becoming a really rich, ordinary citizen? Like, what have you heard? What have you read? Just because I'm curious.
Oh yeah, it is tragically sad. I think Michael Phelps actually produced a documentary recently about like chasing after Olympic golds and what that does to you. And it sounds so trite, like, oh man, what a rough life. You're the most decorated Olympian of all time. You're a freaking millionaire. Yeah, but think about what just happened to people during COVID when your friggin' gym was closed down and you like lost your mind because your identity was wrapped up in being able to go to a gym to get physical activity. People lost it because they couldn't go to the gym to get physical activity. And yet they have a hard time understanding that these people pursued at all costs to family, friends, everything else, all day, every day, for decades to have that moment. And then it literally does happen, like Friday you have the Olympic gold, Monday you're no longer that athlete. That would wreak absolute havoc, and they go into mental spirals after that. I mean, it is a long process to come back from that. It has actually been shown to be similar in nature to PTSD that soldiers face when they come back from deployment.
Wow.
And I'm in no way trying to compare like this athlete that is at the pinnacle of a career and has all this money and accolades and everything to somebody who goes overseas to fight in horrific conditions. But just from a research perspective, when you look at the brain and what goes on internally, they are very, very similar.
Yeah.
And so there does need to be great care given to these people who transition, out of deployment or transition out of this ultimate athlete life. But that's also the point that I'm making, that that can't be who you aspire to be when it comes to health. And so that's why I think that this is so good for us to talk about, is because there is so much nuance that goes into things like this. And you do need to actually take time, quiet, uninterrupted time, to sit and think through these questions, because it is going to be different for every person. But I'm definitely not shy about saying that it's not athletes. Now, I'm not saying that they can't be a beacon of, if you want to pursue athletic things, something like that, that's a different story. But think about why you exercise. If it is for health, okay, then there's a great, I think it was Matthew McConaughey when he accepted an Academy Award or something, and he talked about like his hero. People ask like who his hero was, and he's like, it's me 10 years from now. Okay. 10 years from now, same guy comes up and says, hey, did you achieve, your goal? Did you become your hero? He's like, no, I'm way off. No, my hero is 10 years ahead of me. And so, like, you're the beacon. Who do you want to be 10 years from now? You get 10 years down the road, okay, now who do I want to be 10 years from now? That's probably a question that I think people should sit and marinate on for a while.
Write about it even. Journal.
Yeah.
Journaling is really good for it. Reading and journaling. And if you don't know, and even if you sit and you marinate on it and you don't know, then what would you suggest? Say someone gives their all, they're really thinking about it, and they're like, I really don't know. Like, I'm having a hard time trying to come up with this. What do you suggest they do?
I would look much further into the future than you probably currently are. So, and this is not a dig at anybody who is in this spot, because we all at different periods of our life have different timelines for goals that we have. But you have to have the mindset that you're going to be here to contribute on this planet for a pretty long amount of time. And when you get to the 40 or 50 year mark, it's not like, oh man, I'm on the back end of this thing. No, like your life's just beginning if you look at it from that perspective. Mm-hmm. Plan on another 40 or 50 years. Like, you're halfway. That's pretty cool. And you're halfway with all the knowledge that you have now that you spent the first 30 years actually accumulating. Right? So you've really only used like the useful stuff for 20 years. Now you've got another 50 to put it to good use and be much more effective. So, anyways, where I was going with that is, if you're having a tough time with like what should that beacon be, I would look in the mirror and say, okay, what's the life that I want to lead 30 years from now? What do I want that to look like? And it suddenly kind of pushes into the background some of the more shortcut looking things that look cool and fancy and sexy right now, and it demystifies a little bit what it is that's available to you.
Yeah, I like that. That's something I said to Bart, that you're only halfway done. I know we give Bart a hard time. We say, oh, Bart, you're old Bart. And Bart's, give him a hard time because he beats us in workouts and he's 49 years old. But when he turned 49, he's like, man, I'm almost 50. Like, I'm going to be 50 next year. I can't believe it. I'm like, yeah, but think, like, you keep up with the lifestyle you have now. Like, he eats well. He exercises regularly. He's doing a great job in the gym, and he's in life. And it's like, dude, you're 49% of the way there. Like, if everything goes well and you make it to 100, like, you're not even halfway there. You're 49%. Go do half of anything that's gruesome. Go run half a marathon. And then just think, okay, I gotta run another. That's basically it. You're halfway through a marathon.
That's a great analogy.
Like, you have so much more to go. And now if you're running a marathon, don't think about that when you're halfway, because you're gonna think, oh my goodness, this is awful.
What am I doing?
Yeah, you're halfway there. I like your answer to the beacon question.
Yeah.
I said earlier, maybe it's others, but I like your answer more. Should be yourself.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're doing it. It's for you. I'm here for me. I'm not here to be like this other person. Because here's the thing: if I say, okay, this is my beacon, and I meet with my coach and I put all these processes in place, guaranteed I will never get to that goal ever. Like, that's kind of crappy, right? So how about, and here's why, right? Because I'm not that person. We've got our own unique circumstances. It's what is it called? Like the primordial soup that has made you who you are, that has made them who they are. So don't set somebody else as your beacon. Use yourself. because then you've got a shot of getting there. Guaranteed you will never get there if you set somebody else as the beacon. There's a pretty good chance you can become yourself if you use yourself as that beacon.
And you'll be a lot less disappointed in yourself, which means you'll be a lot healthier psychologically.
Yeah. Yeah, could you imagine that conversation? Somebody comes in and says, all right, this is my goal, and they put this picture of this person, or I want these metrics or whatever it is, and I told, as a coach, I said to you, well, you're never going to get there. And you said, all right, well, can we still put a plan in place? Yeah, sure, but you're never going to get there. Are you going to be okay with that? No, nobody would.
What if somebody came in? Like, what if we were meeting a new member that, you know, they were interested in joining our gym, and they said,
I want to be the next
I want to
Rich
be
Froning.
Yeah, I want to be the next Rich Froning, or I want to be the next, you know, Tom Brady, a parent with their kid, or worse off, the parent says, I want this kid to be the next, which we've seen before, and man, that's an awful position to be in. And what would you say? Would you say, listen, it's not going to happen?
So in my years, Mark, I've definitely gotten more comfortable with having the uncomfortably difficult but necessary question. The answer is I would say that, but in a way that came from a very long conversation, if they're willing to have it. Because it's not right to just say, nope, that's not going to happen. Let's talk about something else. We have to really go down the road of, okay, tell me about this. Tell me your background. You know, tell me your circumstances, and all these things to where you actually see the light bulb go off in their head, and they go, wait a minute, I might be on the wrong track here. And then, you know, it's like, okay, so maybe I can help you paint a different picture. I still want the picture to be theirs, but I'm not doing my duty as a coach if I let them throw up this picture that is clearly Picasso, that they're writing off as their own.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be that person.
Where would you start? Like, if I was sitting across from you and I was like, hey, you know, I'm joining because I want to be Rich Froning. I want to be the next Rich Froning. That's my goal. I want to snatch 315 pounds. I want to clean and jerk almost 400. I want to be able to be...
Has he not done over 400? I'm sorry to derail that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe he has.
And that's your beacon? I'd be like, that's your beacon? He hasn't even done 400. No. Go ahead.
But where would you start if I was like, hey, I have all these specific goals. This is what I want to do. Here's the standard I have set. I'm not settling for anything less. Can you do it?
I would say, okay, tell me about a time that you have set very specific goals for yourself in the past and worked hard for 2, 3, 4 years and seen them come to fruition. And we start the conversation right there.
Yeah. We should do a podcast where we're doing that, where it's like, okay, so we like present, this would be a cool podcast series. It's like we present ideas like that and then do like a role-playing scenario. That'd be really cool.
Yes, so maybe people can post what they would like to hear us work through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extreme situations, just to see like how, we mentioned world-class coaches last week, like how a world-class coach would and should carry out a situation like that. I think that'd be beneficial. They could be like, I'm just thinking out loud now on the podcast, these could be like 10 or 15 minute episodes or 20 or 30 minute episodes that we record.
We could never finish that quickly, Mark. I'm sorry.
I'm surprised this one is as short as it was, because that was our last listener question.
It was. Cool. It was fun.
Anything you wanted to add?
Nope. Sit on some questions yourself. Not you, but the listeners.
Yeah, the listeners.
Take some time. Quiet time in nature. No tech.
Yeah, no tech. Put it away.
Maybe ask yourself this question. Have you ever thought about this? Why do you exercise? Why do you do physical activity?
That's a good place to start.
It's a good place to end.
I feel like we're in a Christopher Nolan movie.
With that one, yeah. Awesome.
As usual, here's the closing, guys. Leave a 5-star review and written review. If you do that, we will love you. more than we already do. We presented a lot of questions today. If you were able to listen to all of them, please give us